So welcome to the 5,528th meeting of the Rotary Club of Chicago. Rotary 1 is now in session. And so we will kick off our meeting today with the thought of the day from our very own Ted Neville. Ted, the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks, Eric. And good afternoon, Rotarians and guests. Welcome, Crane, from this longtime Cubs fan. I might be the oldest one, although Wes might be here. If he is, he's got a year on me. But anyway, a funny comment on the season in quotes, I guess. A friend of mine mentioned how strange it is to see no fans in the stands. And since he's about my age, I reminded him of games back in the 1950s when I'd come home from school on a September afternoon, and my mom, of course, would have WGN on with the Cubs, and maybe 3,000 or 4,000 fans had started at the beginning of the game there. Showed up, but they were down to about 400 with the Cubs losing 10-2 to the Phillies. And so it's not all that different when you compare it to that. Looked pretty empty even then. But moving on, you've all heard the expressions, dance like no one is watching, sing like no one is listening. How about act as if someone is watching? Maybe an umpire, for example. Baseball would be chaos without the umpires. Neutral, of course, making the calls on the field. And given what's going on now in society, maybe we need a bunch of umpires. Or maybe it's just a matter of respect, self-respect. Think of the Rotary second test. Is it fair to all concerned? No self-respecting person would go from being a peaceful protester, whom I hope we'd all support, to a looter, smashing windows and stealing merchandise and depriving employees, many of them minorities, from the ability to work and earn a living for many weeks. No self-respecting cop would kneel on a suspect's neck or put him in a chokehold and suffocate him. No self-respecting protester would hurl rocks and water bottles at cops who are just standing there guarding a statue under city orders. No self-respecting employer would refuse to hire prospects because of their race, gender, religion, or sexual orientation. So I'm preaching to the choir here, hoping that all of us adhere to the Rotary four-way test. But I know more than a few people who do not manifest that self-respect, as you probably do. We're all Americans, but we seem to have forgotten some of that. Finally, no self-respecting person would not wear a mask, risking serious injury or death to himself and others. So think of that umpire behind the plate and the catcher in front of him, and wear a mask whenever you're in close contact with others. So those are my thoughts for the day. So go Cubs, and thanks for listening.
Thank you very much, Ted. Absolutely words to live by. Appreciate your insightfulness as always. And at least for 1 hour a week every Tuesday, I guess I'm your umpire. So.
Okay. Thanks,
sir. Sure. So let's move on with our meeting here. So first of all, give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed Louis Bracton's talk last week about NASA and the future of space travel. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of thumbs up there. How about the service spotlight last week on Job 1 when we heard our intern Alex and his mom? All right, continued thumbs up. Very, very, very good. So I wanted to share a little something with you. After the meeting last week, we stayed online with Alex and his mom to do Q&A, basically. And actually, Mr. Braxton was nice enough to stick around as well. And we all had a fantastic conversation. But then something else transpired, the kind of thing that shows the power of Rotary, the power of making connections to help people, and really sort of the outcome of the fruit of our labor, if you will. So Alex, our student, our intern, expressed interest in being an Army intelligence officer and then maybe going into cybersecurity. And so Mr. Braxton offered to connect Alex with the recently retired NASA Chief Information Officer, who also has a background in military intelligence. And then, as if that wasn't enough, one of our members, Gene Sullivan, who also stuck around for the Q&A, who happens to be a retired U.S. Navy captain who sometimes works for the Department of Defense on R&D, also offered to be connected with Alex and offer to mentor him. So really, last Tuesday was Alex's lucky day. Now, of course, it's not just luck, right? Because we obviously put a lot of work to create these kinds of programs like Job One and also bring in really interesting and dedicated speakers. And Alex and his family also took the initiative to apply for Job One and then agreed to take time out of their day to participate in our meeting. So really, it was just a complete win-win-win situation last week, and I thought that that's the kind of thing that you ought to know and the kind of outcomes that we're having for our students and the impacts that we're having on the lives of Chicagoans. We also gained a volunteer for Job One because Alex's mom, Mrs. Shaw, huge supporter, huge fan, as you may have heard her talk last week, and she said, "Tell me what I can do to bring in more employers to employ our really qualified interns from the city next summer." So that's everybody can kind of give themselves a pat on the back as a Rotarian today. So with that, on to other things that we're also doing to impact people's lives, more still on the vocational side, but focused more on Rotarians themselves. I'd like to introduce immediate past President Marshall Schmidt to tell us about the Rotary Network. Marshall, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Eric. In picking up on the theme that Eric has struck here, we several months ago, I think as many of you know, created something called the Rotary Network, which is a program within right now districts 6450 and 6440 to help Rotarians during the pandemic and beyond. So it is a program that has 6 different facets, which I won't go through in detail, but all designed to help Rotarians connect with other Rotarians, to help find jobs, to provide mentoring services, to publicize our businesses through a Rotary Business Network. We founded a chapter of the Rotary Means Business Fellowship in District 6450. And Eric has been gracious enough to give me a few minutes to just talk about the Rotary Network and encourage you all to become engaged in the Rotary Network. And so I wanted to just highlight very briefly 3 different aspects of the Rotary Network and the whole idea behind it. And Rotary International is fully behind this. The board of directors of Rotary International has endorsed the pilot program in districts 6440 and 6450. And what you see on the screen now is a screenshot of the website, which is therotarynetwork.org, therotarynetwork.org. And the first thing that I'd like you to do in response to this is when this meeting is over, if you could go to therotarynetwork.org, if you haven't checked it out before, and just go through the different facets of the program and see what it has to offer. As many of you know, the genesis of this was inspired by one of our members who has experienced severe problems with the pandemic, and we've learned he is not alone, that there are many Rotarians out there who are very successful businessmen and women who have experienced extreme problems. And the purpose of the Rotary Network is to help overcome those problems and allow us to help our fellow Rotarians. But there are 3 things that I'd ask you to do. First, go to therotarynetwork.org. The second is one aspect of the program is a jobs board, which we have created on the district website. So if you log into our club website or go directly to the district website, it figures prominently on the district website. And what we need are jobs. We need people to post jobs. So if you're in a business that has a job to offer, I'd ask you to go to the website and post your job. Very simple, very easy. Takes about 5 minutes, and you're going to be publicizing the position with Rotarians who we all know are very committed to the 4-way test and of having the self-respect that Ted talked about in the Thought for the Day. The second thing that I ask you to do when you're on the website, either the rotarynetwork.org or the district website, you'll see a link to sign up for the Rotary Means Business Fellowship. There's an inaugural meeting on Thursday evening at 6 o'clock. where you can go and see what it's all about. It's a fellowship that's been around for a long time and provides a way for businesses to meet regularly and share ideas. The third thing that I'd ask you to do is the mentoring portion of the website, and you see where it says connect with mentors. This is a program where people can volunteer to be mentors, and if you're interested in receiving mentoring in a particular area, there are ways you can search the mentors to find someone who can help you address a problem or just generally develop your professional skills. Again, it's very easy to sign up as both a mentor or a mentee, and I'd ask you to engage. It's very important for this effort to be a success that Rotarians engage. And we are people of action, and I'd ask you if you could just take one of those 3 or 4 simple steps. It will help the Rotary work succeed. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate everyone's attention, and I look forward to seeing you in the Rotary Network. Take care.
Thank you so much, Marshall, and thanks for all the work that you've done on that. Marshall is, of course, always modest, but he really spearheaded this particular effort, which has turned into something really great and really big, and will, for all of you at various clubs from around the world visiting today, this is something that eventually I think you will all be seeing in some fashion or another as Rotary International has been engaged with this. So right now, I would like to move on to our program. So I'm going to introduce our program's co-chair, the person responsible for so many of the great programs you get to enjoy here at Rotary One, Mr. David Hirsch. David, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Eric. Well, it's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today, Kenney. Crane's from Quincy, Massachusetts. He went to Notre Dame, where he took an undergrad degree in political science. He's also got a law degree from University of Michigan. He and his wife, Kelly, have 4 children. They make their home in Winnetka. Interestingly, he's been with the Cubs for 27 years, initially with the Tribune Company as their chief legal officer. And then since the Ricketts family bought the Cubs in 2009, he became the president of operations. It is the job, right, of all jobs to have at the Cubs. And he's responsible for a lot of the growth and development that we've all witnessed in the last decade. And we'll give him some credit for bringing the World Series to Chicago. Thank you, Crane. He's also serving on a number of boards, including one Comcast Sportsnet Chicago, which he helped found with Jerry Reinsdorf going back to 2003, as well as the Major League Baseball Long-Term Planning Committee. So I could go on and on. He has some amazing credentials. He's Mr. Baseball in Chicago as far as I'm concerned, and he's our guest today. So Crane, the Zoom stage is yours.
That's great. Dave, thank you very much for the introduction. I think we're going to run a quick video. Before we do that, though, I'd just like to say it's an honor to be with you guys today. I have a long history as well with Rotary. My dad was the president of the Rotary Club in Marco Island and was a member of Rotary for almost 50 years. I was a Rotary scholar, so to be part of Rotary One, which I don't think my father ever visited, he would be very proud to know that I'm spending some time with you today. So it's been really nice to reacquaint with Rotary, and I love the work you guys do. So with that, I'm going to run a quick little video, something you guys have all seen before, and that'll kick us off.
Constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball. America has rolled by like an army of steamrollers. It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again. But baseball has marked the time. This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again. Oh, people will come, Ray. People will most definitely come.
Thanks for that. I'm sure most of you have seen, I hope most of you have seen the movie Field of Dreams, and that's the moment that James Earl Jones basically gives I think a really hypnotic speech about the importance of baseball in our country. And it's a kickoff for me today because it's something that we at Inside Baseball, I serve on the strategic planning committee. I work for the commissioner as much as I work for the Ricketts family and the Cubs. It's something that we feel is really important right now in our country. The end of that speech where he says, it shows you that what once was good could be good again, is really something that we feel this Major League season may be as important as any Major League Baseball season that's ever been played. Again, it's a very short season. We're going to play 60 games in 66 days. But if you think about it against the backdrop of our pandemic, as everyone knows, we've lost more Americans to this pandemic than we did in World War I. All of our routines have been upended. We're working and schooling from home. All of our big ceremonies, whether it's graduations or weddings, many have been canceled. Homelessness has risen, as the jobless claims to historic numbers. There's food insecurity. And basically the things that we've all counted on in life have been taken away from us in many ways. And so the commissioner and as well as our committee felt it was really important to bring baseball back this summer, even if it is in a little bit of an odd format, because it's a bit of normalcy. It's a sense of, and I hope maybe you felt this way on Friday when we opened. It's something familiar. It's something we understand, even without fans in the stands, which is unfamiliar and unusual. The game itself is still being played as it has always been played. The umpires, as you mentioned earlier, are there. The players are there. The score matters, and the same important plays in every game. And I hope not all of you stayed up for last night's game, which turned into a nail biter in the wee hours of the night. But all the anxiety that we usually feel about a Cubs game is still there. So really important just to bring back to our American population, America's game. And so that's one reason. The second reason that I think is just as important is our country's having a discussion with itself about social equity and racial inequity and social justice. And what we saw in Minnesota with the murder of one of our American brothers is a chance for our country to really re-engage itself in a conversation that started many years ago and really never was properly finished. And I think baseball plays a really important role there too. If you go back in time, baseball as an institution did not have a great history with racial equity. And because of Branch Rickey and Jackie Robinson, that changed. And today our game is as integrated as any. It is certainly true that it is not the color of your skin that will determine whether you have a place on the team. It's your ability on the field. And so as that conversation's ongoing as well in our country, I think having baseball as potentially a bright light at the end of the tunnel was important. So for all those reasons, we have this game in an unusual format in front of us. I'll give you a little bit of background on how that happened, and then I'm happy to take some questions. But we obviously had to reach an agreement with the players first, which was arduous and for a whole bunch of reasons we could go into, was not as elegant as it should have been. But we did reach an agreement with the players to pay them a prorated portion of their salaries based on the number of games that we play this year. As I mentioned, our goal is to play 60 games in a regular season and have an expanded postseason, because there'll be some, one of the things about baseball that we've always enjoyed is 162 game season is such a large sample size. As we always used to say, baseball's a marathon, not a sprint, that you were pretty comfortable at the end of 162 games that the best teams were going to go into the playoffs. Well, when you shrink that to 60 games, there'll be a couple of outliers that probably end up in playoff positions. And so we expanded the postseason to get more teams in. So that's kind of the one big rule change for this year. But once we got the players on board, we went through a series. It took us about 3 weeks to put the safety protocols in place, just so you're aware what our players are doing every other day, basically, to be on the field. So every other day they get tested. The results of those tests are received 24 hours later. And if we have a positive test, as we just did with some of the Marlins players, those players go into quarantine. There is no minor league baseball this year. So one of the big losses for our country is all of those great minor league teams that play all over the country. The Cubs have 7 minor league teams. They're all shut down this year. So our team in Des Moines and in Knoxville and in Eugene, Oregon, and in Myrtle Beach, they're all not playing. So what we did is we took a group of players, 30. They're called the Taxi Squad. Those players are training in South Bend, one of our minor league teams, and they're ready in the event that we have some positive tests and we need to supplement the current Major League roster. So Major League roster was expanded from 26 players to 30. So there's a few more positions on the Major League roster. And then we have 30 players in reserve. So what's going to happen for the Marlins right now is they're going to tap into their taxi squad and bring 9 players up because they had 9 positive tests to help their Major League club. But so that's one thing we're doing on the testing. The players' lives are completely different. We've moved them out of the clubhouse at Wrigley Field. We renovated our ballpark over the last 5 years and created a really state-of-the-art clubhouse. But unfortunately, it's all indoors. So the batting tunnels are indoors, the data room, nutrition, strength, training, even the showers and lockers are indoors. And we moved all of that outdoors. So we took the concourse, because there are no fans in the ballpark, where you would normally queue up to get your hot dogs and beer. You'll see a weight room, or you'll see massage tables, or you'll see a nutrition center, or you'll see a video room, or you'll see lockers, because we wanted to get them out into the fresh air. And so they're basically living above ground rather than below ground where our clubhouse is normally. We also, since there are no fans, gave each of the players a suite upstairs. So instead of entertaining our fans upstairs, the players now use that as their own personal space. What they would have had in the clubhouse. So places to make phone calls, work on their laptop, review video, maybe have a sandwich by themselves. And it's really interesting because it's, the team element is one that we pride ourselves on at the Cubs. If you look back at the 2016 team, I've never seen in my 20-some years of baseball a team that loved each other so much. Those players, they're all still best friends. I just saw Jake Arrieta, and now that he plays for the Phillies, he has to be a little more careful, but he stays in touch with his Cub brothers as much as he does with his players on the Phillies. And that it's really interesting to see how they create that bond, even though social distancing requires everybody to keep a distance. And so a whole different role for them, a whole different protocol for our players to kind of go through their daily work. The same thing's true on the road. So we're in Cincinnati for our first road trip. Typically what would happen, again, because of the concerns about weather, is that we would fly in the night before the game. To eliminate hotel nights, we're actually flying in the day of game. So we played yesterday. We actually flew in on Monday. And that would have been completely atypical for our players to kind of land and then go right to the ballpark and play. But we and all the other teams are doing that as well. We've told the players they're not allowed to high five. They can't hug each other. They can't do all the same things that we have seen so often when they celebrate success on the field. We've actually asked them to stop spitting because obviously aspiration is one of the issues we've got with the pandemic. That rule is not being followed entirely. But they're living their lives in a completely different fashion than they have. And, players are really routine oriented. They follow similar patterns every day. And baseball, because it is such a long season, if you don't have routines, it's very easy to get lost in a season. And so for our players, it's really it is our first rodeo, unlike, past seasons where young players lean on older players for guidance. This year, everyone's kind of finding their way at the same time. So might actually bring the team together because there are no pandemic veterans. There's no player who's been through this before, or with our first-year manager, David Ross, a manager that's been through it before. So we're off to a really good start. Obviously, 3-1 at this point. If you think about it, every game is worth 2.7 wins. So in a typical season, 162. This year, only 60. So we're well past the halfway point of the season, and we're in first place when you think about a normal season. We're going to learn some things, especially about our bullpen from here to the finish line. Last night was not probably one of our better showing, although for many of those players it was their first time in something other than an exhibition game. So we're going to give them a little bit of a break last night, but really happy with the way the rotation has performed so far. Obviously Hendricks on opening night, throwing a complete game shutout. That's about as good as you can get. And we thought, Lester last night was really, really good. Velocity was up a tick and a half. Breaking ball was really, really sharp, really in command through 5 innings. As everybody knows, didn't give up a run, and really didn't give up a hit. Had a walk in there, but as an older player, I know I've gotten a lot of texts like, why did we pull Lester out during a no-hitter? At his age, he wasn't going to go 9 innings. So getting him out after 5 was the right plan. And ultimately we won the game. So what happened in the middle innings, maybe we shouldn't worry about so much. So anyway, I want to give you a quick update on what's happening inside baseball. I hope you guys are enjoying the games on television. I'll tell you our ratings. So we had a historically high rating on opening day, and then it was actually beat on Sunday with all the heat. I think a lot of people were inside on Sunday. So our game on Sunday actually had a higher rating than Friday, both of which were records. Really interesting. We also set a record in our rating demographic with women. So we had not just the men at home, but all the ladies stayed in to watch as well on Sunday. So really happy with the start of the season. Obviously, we're on a new network, the Marquee Network. Really happy to get the Comcast carriage agreement done the day before opening day. So all of our friends who have Xfinity as their service provider can watch the games. It leaves really just the Dish Network not carrying us, and they're actually not carrying anybody in Chicago on the sports side right now. So we'll keep working on that. But David and Eric, that's a quick snapshot of baseball during the pandemic.
Well, I'd like to lead off the questions. Thank you for that very insightful presentation. It's obvious for somebody that, from my own perspective, who loves baseball, knows a little something about baseball, that there's a lot more details that go on behind the scenes. And one of the challenges is the pandemic and people's safety and their health. And then the bigger issue seems to be, because not everybody's impacted by the pandemic directly, but more of us are impacted economically. And I'm wondering, Crane, if you can talk to the business of baseball, right? And some of the things that you've been challenged by, the Cubs have been challenged by, Major League Baseball has been challenged by as a business,
Sure.
Operating here in Chicago.
Yeah, so unfortunately for us, we're one of those businesses that, like the airline business or the hotel business or any business that kind of relies on, large gatherings, it's been really hurt. Baseball will lose $4.5 billion this year. That's the bottom line. So we're going to lose $4.5 billion in revenue. The net effect of the pandemic on baseball will be the owners will lose collectively $4.5 billion. Our owner will lose north of $150 million. The fact is 70% of our revenues come from fans being in the ballpark. So that's ticket sales, concessions, our suites, parking, and our premium spaces. So without people in the ballpark, we lose 70% of our revenue. We're paying our players a prorated portion of their salaries, but when you get to the bottom line, the cost of operating, keeping all of us employed, we're really fortunate to have the Ricketts family as owners. You've seen around sports and obviously all the industries like ours. We'll call them hospitality industries. Lots of layoffs and furloughs. We haven't furloughed or laid anyone off. We all took pay cuts beginning in May. And through the pay cuts and the support from the Ricketts family, we've been able to keep everyone employed. So there's about 600 employees at the Cubs. Haven't had to take that next step with them. But without fans in the ballpark, and until we can get fans back in the ballpark, and so we're looking at next year. Really, this year is going to be what it is. We're really focusing on 2021 and what the prospects of having people in the ballpark next year will be. Until we get back to full capacity, baseball will be a very tough business for all the owners. We're fortunate to have one in our case, and it's one of the few of the 30 teams that haven't had to furlough or terminate people. So so that's the nature of the business. We're essentially sustaining ourselves on our media rights. So our radio, what we get paid for our radio rights and our television rights, and then a portion of what the league gets that comes back to the clubs. That's the only revenue we have this year.
Okay, Thank you. I'll open it up to others for questions.
David, we have a question in the chat box here, so let me start with that one. And this is shifting gears a little bit, Crane, to the Cubs charities. So basically, and I think particularly with all that's been going on with COVID, is the Cubs organization doing anything to help with inequities in food insecurity, homelessness, things like that nature?
Yeah, so yes, on all accounts. So we've been a partner with the Lakeview Food Pantry for all my time at the Cubs. They came to us in March when we shut baseball down and closed down our spring training site, and asked, because of the great need in our city, whether there was a way and the need to distance, as they were putting the boxes together, to distance the packers, whether they could use the Wrigley Field concourse to actually pack boxes at the food pantry. So we turned Wrigley Field into the largest food pantry in the city. And it ran from March until essentially the week before opening day. And if you were in the concourse, I should have brought some pictures. The concourse, if you think of it as a giant semicircle that runs from foul pole to foul pole, we put tables. And so what would happen is, the food would come in one end of the ballpark. We used our refrigeration to store the perishables, and then it would be put onto the various tables throughout the entire concourse. And then people remaining 6 feet apart would pack their boxes as they came down the tables. So for like three months, we were able to, I think we quadrupled the number of boxes that the Lakeview Food Pantry would get out because of the use of Wrigley. That was on the food side. And then we've been delivering meals to our frontline workers. We closed the Hotel Zachary as a result of the pandemic, but we opened it for the Advocate hospital employees that worked down at Illinois Masonic, just down the street. Many of them were unable to go home with their families, given their exposure to COVID patients. And were sleeping, in sort of makeshift quarters in their homes. So instead, we opened the Hotel Zachary for them to sleep. And so for 2.5 months, they were sleeping over at our hotel. And again, the Ricketts family did that without charge to anyone. And then we did grants to both the state and the city resource centers. So we've been really busy since COVID hit. Cubs Charities kind of swung its mission. We're still serving the kids as we always do, but we're actually kind of going more towards some of the parents that need help through our grant making. So been a real big push and a rewarding one. It's the right thing for this organization to do. It's been terrific.
Wow, that's great. And actually, I think we were doing some similar projects there, because we were delivering meals to the frontline workers as well. And we delivered to about 10 different institutions, and Illinois Masonic was one of those hospitals as well. So,
oh, great.
We were also serving that population.
Terrific people, yeah, and great partners.
Absolutely. So we've got a lot more questions coming in here. Shifting gears back to the business side, you talked about sort of the impacts to the Cubs and to baseball as a whole from a business perspective. Any sense of how the overall neighborhood, the surrounding businesses, which would be my neighborhood here, in fact, have been impacted in terms of loss of revenue or other impacts?
Yeah, we know the numbers. So we've been developing real estate around Wrigley for the last 5 years, and we know many of our businesses are still closed. So if any of you have been up to the Wrigley area and been to Mordecai, one of our restaurants open. So we've got about half of our restaurants open, half of them are closed. And obviously the ones that are closed are generating no revenue but still have their costs. So those are all being challenged. My guess is similar story up and down Clark Street in the Wrigleyville neighborhood. I mean, it's called Wrigleyville for a reason. We bring 3.5 million people into the neighborhood every year. Those people are served by all the bars and restaurants and retailers up and down the street. And so without those 3.5 million people, I got to imagine their businesses have been pretty decimated as well. So I think it's been a tough year in Wrigleyville for all those merchants.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's certainly my own anecdotal observations as well as I walk around here. Marshall, you had a question. I think I'm just going to let you ask that question, Marshall, directly. You can kind of unmute yourself and go for it.
So, Crane, thank you so much. It was a wonderful presentation. I learned a lot. My question really goes to, can Major League Baseball do a better job of communicating the value that the games provide for society? I know there's been a lot written about the amount of testing resources that have gone into making the games possible. And is there a way to get the word out better? Because if you're sick or out of a job, all the testing and other resources that are going to games might on the surface be viewed as, not worth it. But
that's a really good,
today did a good job of explaining it.
Yeah, you raise a really good point, and it was a really, I think, unfair piece in the Tribune, my former employer, about testing and whether or not we're in any way impacting the availability of tests for the general public and certainly our frontline workers. And it kind of came out at the very end of the story, but I should make sure you guys all know the facts. So during the PED, or the performance enhancing drug era, the Major League Baseball built its own lab in Salt Lake City to try and catch our players that were violating the rules and taking steroids. We built a designer lab where we could, and as you know, players continue to be tested for performance enhancing drugs. During COVID, we converted that lab that we own, Major League Baseball owns in Salt Lake City, into a COVID lab. So all of the tests that our players are taking are going to Salt Lake City. We are not taking any capacity away from Northwestern or Advocate or any of the other hospitals here in Chicago. We're relying on our own lab to do all those tests. So I think it was really important for the commissioner and for baseball as a whole to not be a part of the problem if there's inadequate testing in any market. So having it all self-contained has been very good. The answer to your question is yes, we should do a better job. I don't think baseball has done a great job in my feelings about the importance of baseball are shared by more people than you would think. Baseball has not been growing as a game. The fastest growing game in our country is lacrosse, and then followed by soccer. The NFL dominates ratings because of its sort of, it doesn't play that often. So it's 16 games versus 160. And yet I think America's pastime is still baseball. And if you look at the number of fans that will attend a baseball game, and we love our friends down at the Bears, and Ted Phillips is one of my good pals, but they'll have 800,000 people come to Soldier Field this year, and we'll have 3.5 million people come to Wrigley Field. So it's just a different scale. But I don't think, to your question, Marshall, I don't think the league's done a great job of really expressing how important this game is to the fabric of our country. It's played not just in the major cities, because we have minor leagues. As I mentioned, we play games in Knoxville and South Bend and Myrtle Beach and Eugene and Des Moines, sort of in the heart of America. And NFL does not have that. The NHL doesn't have that. The NBA doesn't have that. So yes, we focus on the 30 major league clubs, but behind the 30 major league clubs are all these minor league clubs that are playing, as well as, the little leagues and pony leagues and all the other stuff that we all grew up doing. So the answer is we probably should do a better job.
Well, thank you very much, Crane. We're short on time now. I know there's more questions in the chat box, but we have, as always, a full agenda today, and we need to move on. But if everybody could give a virtual round of applause for Mr. Kenney and some thumbs ups and whatever works for you. We really appreciate having you here today with us, Crane. And we do have a parting gift for you as well. We offer every Rotary One speaker a gift of thanks from a local community-based organization. The idea is to affect lasting change in Chicago. And what we're giving you is a candle from an organization called Bright Endeavors. Their mission is to empower young moms by providing transitional jobs and professional skills training. This not only helps the young moms, obviously, but it also supports their kids and ultimately our communities. This is consistent with our community service focus this year on education. So that'll be sent in the mail to you, or maybe I should just walk down the street and drop it at Wrigley. I don't know, but we'll mail it. We'll mail it.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you
And
very
thank
much.
you, and thanks for all the great work Rotary does. Congratulations on all the support I know you're providing during the pandemic to everyone, and everyone stay safe, and I'll see you down the road.
Thank you very much, Crane. And you're welcome to stick around as long as you want in our meeting.
I get to jump on another Zoom call, but thanks so much.
You bet. Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye-bye. Okay. So with that, I'm going to shift to some other happy news, new member induction. And Laura Inns, our membership director, membership chair, you have the floor. Laura?
Thank you, Eric. Good afternoon, everybody. So today we are very excited to be welcoming 2 new members to our club. We are welcoming Donna Mitsos and Melissa Hahn, who are both here today. So the process here is that I'll read the induction speech, and then we will have our 2 newest members, Donna and Melissa, introduce themselves to our club. All right. Except that I'm scrolled on the wrong page. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, everybody. Here we go. All right, so it is my great pleasure on behalf of the Board of Directors and members of the Rotary Club of Chicago to welcome each of you, Melissa and Donna, as a member of Rotary One. We welcome you not only for the fine fellowship that we shall share, but also for your talents, abilities, and enthusiasm that will help us to carry out our many projects to make our community, our country, and the world a better place to live. Rotary is not a political organization, but all Rotarians are vitally concerned with everything pertaining to good citizenship and the election of good people to office. Rotary is not a charitable organization, yet its activities exemplify the charity and the sacrifices that one should expect from people who believe that they have a responsibility to help others. Rotary is not a religious organization, but it is built on those eternal principles that have served as the moral compass for people throughout the ages. Rotary is an organization of business and professional people pledged to upholding the highest professional standards. Rotarians believe that worldwide fellowship and international peace can be achieved when business people unite under the banner of service. So Donna and Melissa, each of you have been chosen for membership in the Rotary Club of Chicago because your fellow Rotarians believe you to be a leader in your profession, and because you manifest the intelligence and commitment of heart that fit you to interpret and impart the message of Rotary. You are a representative of your profession in this club, and any information of an educational value pertaining to your profession must naturally come to us through you. At the same time, you become an ambassador from us to your profession, and we rely upon you to carry the principles and ideas of service which we aspire to those who share your professional activity. The community will know and judge Rotary by your embodiment of it in character and service. And we accept you as a member because we know our principles and organization will be safe in your keeping. We also expect you to give us the inspiration that will help us become better Rotarians. And it is with this hope that we welcome you to the Rotary Club of Chicago, Rotary One. All right, so Donna, we would go ahead and unmute yourself. We'd love to hear a little bit about you. So please introduce yourself to our club.
Hi, everyone. I'm Donna Mitsos with Innovation Meetings. I put together meetings and events, not so much lately. Lately, I've been working on a nonprofit within the hospitality industry to combat human trafficking. We're getting incorporated at this time. And so I hope to tell more about that as we move further. I joined in part because of an introduction from Ed Graziano, probably like Melissa as well. And I also like the opportunity to network and socialize with a group of like-minded people. I volunteer a lot, and this is going to really help give me a lot of opportunities to that, locally as well as internationally or globally. And then I live in the West Loop here in Chicago, and I have a few hobbies other than travel and putting together exciting events and travel events. I work out regularly, love the theater here in the city, the lakefront, swimming, biking, triathlons. And finally, I have 2 sons and now 3 grandchildren, just got another one a month ago, all under the age of 2.
Welcome to the club, Donna. We look forward to getting to know you better and are happy to have you here today.
Thanks.
Melissa, if you could, I don't see you just yet, but if you could unmute yourself.
Hi, good afternoon. It's Melissa Hahn. I'm Senior Account Lead. I work at Meetings and Incentives Worldwide, and that's how I've had the privilege to get to know Ed. Ed is wonderful, and thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. So I reside in Elmhurst, Illinois, so I'm in the suburbs, and I work from home. I'm a huge Cubs fan and a Bears fan. I've had Bears season tickets for 22 years, so I'm very, very excited. I'm a little sad about the season, not being able to go, but big Bears fan too. So what I do, I'm really lucky. I work in my passion, which is meetings and events, similar to Donna and Ed. I've been in the hospitality industry now for 22 years, and I have worked in the finance, the corporate association, and currently working in the medical meetings. So I plan large events from 50 people to my largest was 40,000 people. So I have worked on all types of meetings from training, sales, advisory board, and medical congresses. Some of you might have heard of ASCO, which sells out the Chicago every year at the end of May. And so we've been hit as well, as you had just heard previously, just with the hospitality industry. So it's kind of been kind of a downer because I haven't been able to get out and network and meet new people. So really looking forward to meeting everyone. And some of the reasons I kind of like my job, I love to see the event run successfully. I also love providing memorable experiences, and I enjoy working with people. So that was some of the things that really brought me to why I really wanted to join the Rotary, and I thought I would be a great fit for me. And I love hitting home runs with my clients, and I'm excited to work with everyone here and look forward to hopefully meeting everybody in person one day too. So very excited about that. So that's
Great. Thank you so much for sharing about yourselves, Melissa and Donna. We really look forward to getting to know you. Eventually you will receive some Rotary pins, a Rotary pin for Rotary International, and then also a pin for our club specifically, Rotary One. And so it is a unique pin that is sometimes sought off. Rotarians can be known for their pin craziness. All right, and so with that, I will turn it back over to you, Eric.
All right, thank you very much, Laura. And yeah, welcome, Donna and Melissa. It's good to see you guys. Good to see you guys here. And we'll be finding ways to get you both engaged. Expect a phone call from me at some point in the next few months, so we can just have a little chat, and I can get to know more about you guys and how we can make this club work for you. Okay. And we have a lot of guests here today. And so I want to be able to make sure that we give everybody an opportunity to introduce themselves. What you're going to do is you get about 15 seconds, just say your name, say what club you're from, the country or state, and then what your profession is. I tried to catch everybody here looking at the list of participants, and then if I missed anybody at the end, we'll have you just sort of chime in. I caught a couple of international Rotarians, it looks like, on the call. So Paul Lees, would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Paul Lees. I live in the north of England, and my club is Humberside. We aren't Rotary 1, we're Rotary 1099. But I'd just love to say how very interesting your meeting is. And I, like you, I also want to welcome Melissa and Donna. I think you're very lucky to be in Club R1. And I'd like to just say something at the very end as well, but that's me.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul. I see we also have, I believe, a couple of folks from Pakistan. We have Irfan Qureshi. Could you please introduce yourself?
Thank you very much. This is Irfan Qureshi, past district governor from 3271 Pakistan. Karachi is the biggest city of Pakistan, and I welcome you. I enjoyed your meeting. It was a good experience. And I welcome all the members. If you visit sometime to Pakistan, please do visit Rotary in Pakistan meetings.
Past District Governor Irfan, thank you so much for joining us today. Very good. And then I believe we also have another person from Pakistan, Amir Khan. Could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, hi Eric. Hello everybody. My name is Amir Khan and I am the secretary for Rotary Club Karachi Karsas. Basically my background is financial industry, but towards the later part of my financial industry career, I was primarily involved in anti-money laundering and anti-terrorism financing. Right now I'm working on clean water, and which is air water harvesting. So we generate water from thin air. I'm working on geothermal, which is green energy, which is as stable as advanced nuclear power plants, but without the risk of what Fukushima and Chernobyl experienced. And I guess that's about it.
Thank you so much. It sounds very interesting. Glad to have you on the meeting today. We have a couple of others from Europe. Bernd Reckman, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes.
I'm calling in today from Cologne, Germany. And actually, this is my third meeting with Rotary One, second online meeting. And I even joined you, I think, about 3-4 years ago in Chicago at a meeting in the Union Club. And today I had a particular interest in your speaker, Kenney, because I was, we also try to watch, we don't see that much baseball on German TV, but I'm very much interested in it, and also on the way you try to, or they try to cope with COVID-19, and keep our thumbs up that everything is going well. We just finished our German Bundesliga, and everything went well, and all the best for the United States sports.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us, Bernd, yet again, and we hope to keep seeing you in the future.
Yeah, thank you.
And speaking of other guests that we get to see quite often from overseas, Valdemar Jusko, would you like to introduce yourself once again? Are you still on the call, Valdemar?
Yes, he's.
Oh, yeah, I think you're muted. Oop, there you go. Go ahead, Valdemar. Oh, I'm afraid we can't hear you. You're unmuted, but we cannot hear your audio.
Maybe now.
Oh,
maybe
there
now.
we go. There we go.
Okay, good. Okay, alloy and technique, it's two words going together. It's not always easy. President Eric, thank you very much for the invitation. I joined the meetings very, very much. I learned a lot about the US, the Rotary clubs in the US. And I'm always very exciting to take part in the next meeting of you. I'm a member of German club in Witten, North Rhine-Westphalia, and currently, as very often in Warsaw, Poland, where I joined the meetings of the only German-speaking club of Poland. So maybe that's all. Thank you very much for the exciting presentation, and I very like to see you again.
Thank you very much. Always good to see you, Valdemar. Are there any other international visiting Rotarians? Any other international visiting Rotarians that I may have missed? Okay. Not hearing any, I'm going to move to domestic visiting Rotarians, and we have a long roster there as well, so I'm just going to read through the list that I have. Shayna Craven, could you introduce yourself, please? Not sure if you're still on, Shayna. You might have dropped off. Then let's go to Stephanie Emmerich. Are you still on?
Very much so. I wouldn't miss. And you have the best two fabulous members of Donna Mitsos and Melissa Hahn. I am humbled, and even more so in awe of Rotary for their acceptance.
Thank you so much. What Rotary Club are you from, Stephanie?
I'm a guest of Ed Graziano, who just, the Wonder Man that puts it all together.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for visiting us today.
Thank you.
Tom Gosha.
Hi there, Tom Ghosh. I am the president-elect of the Schomburg Hoffman Estates Rotary Club, all the way across the Edens from you guys. We are in the process of our second largest fundraising event, which is our vacation raffle. And you can buy tickets online. And as a blatant self-promotion for that, I'm going to put the link in the chat. Thanks for having me. I really appreciated the speaker. I love sports, and I love the business of sports.
Very good. Thank you so much, Tom, for visiting us, and good luck on your year. Always happy to chat, by the way, if you need any tips. Joe Kushel from Alaska, you're on.
Yes. Hi, thank you. Joe Cooply. I'm the past president of the Rotary Club of Fairbanks, and I am an attorney. My daughter went to school in Chicago, and we have a property very near Wrigleyville. So I was very interested in the speaker today. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I should apologize for mispronouncing people's names. That I will continue to mangle them for the rest of the meeting. My apologies. Robert Steinberg from Palatine. Are you still on? He may have dropped off already. Let's see. Ruth Aguilar, are you still on? Connie Becker, are you still on? Larry Lifson? Carlos Argueta, are you still on? I think a lot of our guests may have dropped off here. KL Chappelle, I believe you were still on. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi. I heard my name. I'm sorry. I'm multitasking as always. I feel like I'm working harder from home. I'm sorry.
No worries.
I can't get my photo to work. But my name is Kimberly Lacey Chappelle. It's just a long name, so I've got everything abbreviated. And I never take offense if someone says chapel. But it is Kimberly Lacey Chappelle. And can we get it? Oh, here we go.
There we go.
Chappelle, and I am with Hartgrove Behavioral Health System and Garfield Park Hospitals, and I'm a specialty community liaison. So I do a lot of community work and education along the lines of behavioral health, and those are behavioral health hospitals. So working with the community, I'm one of the liaisons that work with the law enforcement community. So I do a lot of work with the Chicago Police Department, a lot of work with Chicago Public Schools and other schools in the Chicagoland area and some of the collar counties. I can't remember who invited me to these meetings. So if they're on here, I apologize that I don't remember. I am looking forward to, and I will join the Rotary Club. And I'm going to go to your website and check out the membership information. But I enjoy those when I'm able to, and I don't have another webinar that crashes or my boss putting something on my plate at the last hour. So thank you.
Thank you so much for attending, and that's music to my ears. I love to hear people who are interested in the club, and your background sounds perfect. I think we could do a lot of great things in the community together. So please do join Kimberly. And KL is good. I'm glad you put that in there because I can pronounce that without messing that up. So appreciate it. Let's see. Nat Carmack, are you still on? How about Anita Badia? Are you still on? Anita, would you like to introduce yourself? Anita, I'm not hearing you. Your audio might not be working. Well, we may have to come back to you, Anita. That's okay. Let's move on to Terry Anderson. Are you still on? Okay. And finally, Nani Laketsos from right in my backyard here in Lakeview. I know I saw you on earlier. Would you like to introduce yourself? All right, I think a lot of folks maybe have dropped off. Are there any other visitors, guests, visiting Rotarians, or others that I may have missed? I see your hand up, Steve Diller. Steve, go for it. Introduce yourself, please.
Okay, well, Steve Diller. I'm currently a member of Rotary number 2 in San Francisco. This is my second opportunity to come to Rotary number 1. A big part of the reason for that is that we've relocated, and I'm right now right on the other side of Lake Michigan in Three Oaks, Michigan, and anticipate having an apartment in the South Loop next spring, and just kind of looking to get a sense of the lay of the land in Rotary land here. My focus within Rotary has been primarily on the Rotary Climate Action Team and SRAG related stuff. So that move towards one of the major areas of focus for Rotary is something that I'm really excited about and looking forward to seeing more about whether that's playing much of a role in Chicago and any of the Chicago clubs. So that's me.
Wonderful. Steve, let's try to connect after the meeting. We'd obviously love to have you as part of our club, though you should certainly find the club that is the perfect fit for you. But we also have a lot of members that have summer homes, vacation homes in Michigan and are sheltering in place there currently, and in fact attend a lot of the Rotary meetings in Michigan. So we could help you. We could help connect you with clubs that work well. We're also currently doing an initiative to work with the first 5 Rotary clubs in the world. That includes San Francisco number 2, obviously. And so we're actually working on some joint projects. So if you join Rotary 1, you might get to see some of your old friends again. Very good. Any other guests that I may have missed? Okay, well, let's move on then to our announcements, and we have a couple of interesting things coming up here that I want to talk about. The first one is sort of an extension of our Meals for the Frontline project that I mentioned earlier during Crane's presentation. And as the dire situation in the hospitals has sort of settled down a bit, we decided to pivot to other ways to help the community, particularly those impacted by COVID, with the resources that we had set aside for Meals for the Frontline. And so we have a project coming up to this Friday to serve meals to low-income seniors. And Alita, are you on the call? Can you give us the details?
Sure. So we paired up with a senior living facility for low-income seniors and disabled people called Maple Point, as 150 South Maple Street in Lincoln Park, I believe is the neighborhood. I'm not good with neighborhood.
I think that would be the Gold Coast, and that would be 150 East Maple.
East Maple. See, not very good at all those things. And so as of this moment, we have 20 seniors that we are going to make a dinner for, a hot meal for, and deliver to Maple Point and deliver them to their doors. And so we're looking for 1 or 2 or 3 additional volunteers to meet there and help us distribute those meals to their doors and just say, thanks for, we're just here to help. And so we're going to do a hot meal and a salad. And if anybody that's coming, if they want to bring a dessert that we could put in the bags, that could work too. And I believe I'll put my contact information in the chat if you all want to reach out.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Alita. That sounds like a great opportunity. So basically, it sounds like folks could just, well, they should obviously reach out to you first, but they should show up at 150 East Maple at 5 p.m. I understand that obviously people should have masks and gloves, although I believe you said you can supply the gloves. Very good. Very good. Thank you very much, Alita. That's great. Thanks for organizing that. So another event coming up that is really somewhat of a passive event. You can just show up, but it is a way of supporting our service projects. So basically, the Rotary Club of Chicago helped support a local global grant, otherwise sometimes known as reverse global grants, for a peace building organization called MC School, which essentially helps with peace building and conflict resolution with youth through spoken word poetry. And they're having a big event this Friday. It is at 2111 South Hamlin. This information will be shared in an email later in the week because we do not have the time yet, but we're trying to get that information. It's a Peace Circle event focused on an anti-racism showcase held by the Peace Circle ambassadors. Again, this is part of a large global grant funded in part by the Rotary Club of Chicago. So it'd be nice to go out there and support the youth. The Rotary 2020 virtual convention still continuing with a few days left here in July. So do visit the virtual convention website, and that can be put in the chat box if Karen hasn't already, if you could please do that. Our Rotary One committees do continue to meet. They're very active, arguably more active than ever. Our community service, PR marketing committee, and international service committees all have meetings coming up in August. Please check the calendar to see when those meetings take place. Over the last 2 meetings, we did some surveys to understand and gauge our members' interest in meeting again in person. And if you could, Shelby, put that slide up, you'll see from the pie charts. As soon as that slide comes up, thank you. You'll see from the pie charts. I'm an engineer, so I like charts and pie charts. Basically, a very strong interest in starting to meet in person for outdoor socially distanced meetings, really kind of as soon as possible here in August. If you look at the pie chart on the right side, our question about when you'd feel comfortable meeting indoors again at the Union League Club is a little bit more nuanced, let's say. So I think folks are really, a lot of folks are looking at not meeting in person indoors until a vaccine is available. Although there is about 65% of the people would, at least by October, be willing to perhaps test out meeting in person at the Union League Club. So in lieu of these results, as well as just talking with our members at some of the volunteer and social events this last month, definitely people are yearning for some in-person fellowship, but I think due to safety, due to COVID, there's definitely leaning towards outdoor programs. So with that in mind, our next 2 Rotary meetings will be outdoors in-person meetings with a Zoom option. So don't worry, if you're more comfortable with Zoom, we're going to have that option as well. But while we can, let's take advantage of summer in Chicago, shall we? So Tuesday, August 4th, our Rotary After Work from 5:30 to 7 p.m. We will be meeting at the rooftop of the Ping Tom Park Fieldhouse. That's at 1700 South Wentworth. I'm not convinced that address is correct. We will double check that. But basically, we're at 18th and in Wentworth. Actually, 1700 South Wentworth is correct. That is correct, because it's just north of 18th Street. You can get there via CTA Red Line going to Chinatown, or you can drive there. There is a parking lot at the Fieldhouse. And what are we going to hear about? Well, we're going to hear from our very own Nancy Kalkbrenner, who is a docent with the Chicago Architecture Foundation, and she's going to tell us a little bit about architecture. And it's the perfect place for it because we'll be on the rooftop, nice open space with an unobstructed view of the entire Chicago skyline. If you've never seen it from there, it's a great vantage point. You can see also where they're building the new 78, the mega development down there. There's a lot of history, architectural history, more than you might imagine down from that view. So I think it's an exciting place to be for a meeting and learn about architecture. So because we are meeting in person for that meeting, the in-person Rotary One fees do apply for meals. Obviously, we're still going to have the Zoom element. Registration is important this time, folks, since we really need to know what the head count is going to be because we have to cater the event, and they have to be individually packaged. We can't do just buffet style. So please do register, and conversely, if you register, that does count as a commitment to come to the meeting, for those coming in person, that is. So again, we're going to have Zoom connected there for the announcements, and also so that folks can hear Nancy's talk. I'm going to warn you in advance, being outdoors, this may be imperfect. We will learn together how to make these blended meetings of in-person and Zoom. So I'm going to say I appreciate your patience in advance. August 11th, we will do it again. That'll be our Job 1 Awards and appreciation. Please come out and support our students. We're actually going to meet at the Glessner House courtyard to be consistent with our great architecture theme here, because that is a wonderful historic mansion at 1800 South Prairie Avenue. It's going to be in a giant outdoor courtyard with plenty of space. But again, we will have a Zoom component there. Okay, so that is all I have for announcements. With that, we always end our meeting with the 4-way test. And I am going to ask our visitor from the UK, Mr. Paul Lees, to please join us in reciting the 4-way test. Everybody else, please stay on mute, but you can recite at home.
The 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you very much for that, Paul. And with that, meeting adjourned.